Bennett said he was going to Tokyo on business for 2 weeks. When the message arrived, I was in the kitchen making some herbal tea for his mother. My mother-in-law, Carol, sat by the stove, rubbing her knees and sighing. Bennett's so busy. As his wife, you need to be more understanding. We're old and out here in the country with no one around. When you have time, you should come back and see us. I didn't say anything. Married for 5 years, that was the phrase I heard most. Bennett's busy. Bennett's tired. Bennett's under a lot of pressure. So, as his wife, I had to be sensible. I had to be understanding, take on his family obligations for him, remember his parents' doctor's appointments for him, send gifts to relatives for him, and replace the leaky shingles on the old family house, one by one, for him. I used to think this was what marriage was. Later, I realized some people just see your love as free labor. My phone buzzed again. Bennett sent a photo from an airport terminal. Boarding now. Talk to you when I land in Tokyo. In the picture, he wore a dark gray trench coat, a black suitcase by his side. I zoomed in, scanning the departure gate in the background, but found nothing out of the ordinary. I replied, "Okay." A few minutes later, he sent another message. "Keep an eye on Mom and Dad for me. Make sure they don't have anything to worry about." I looked at the sentence and suddenly let out a small laugh. He was going to Tokyo on business, and I was going to the country to see his parents. The way he said it, it was as if this was the most natural thing in the world. Seeing me looking at my phone, my mother-in-law immediately asked, "What did Bennett say?" "He said he's boarding." Her hand paused for a moment before she resumed rubbing her knee. "That's good. That's good. It's not easy for a man to build a career out there." My father-in-law, Richard, was smoking in the living room. Hearing this, he called out from the hallway, "Alara, why don't you just stay the night? You can pick up your mom's prescription in town tomorrow." I glanced at the clock on the wall. 8:30 p.m. It was a 2-hour drive back to the city. I had planned to leave that night, but my mother-in-law was clutching her knee, and my father-in-law was coughing heavily. I finally nodded. "All right, I'll stay one night." A wave of relief washed over my mother-in-law's face. At that moment, I thought she was relieved to have someone to look after her. It wasn't until the middle of the night that I understood. It wasn't a breath of relief she had let out. It was a sigh of satisfaction that I had been kept there, right under their watch. The old house was a 2.5-story brick and wood structure, passed down through Bennett's family. My in-laws lived on the first floor. The second floor had 2 guest rooms, and above it all was a low-ceilinged attic. When the house was renovated 2 years ago, it was I who found the architectural plans, contacted the contractors, and fronted the $25,000 for the repairs. The attic, which had been used for storage, had its floorboards reinforced and new wiring installed at my direction, because my mother-in-law had said she wanted to store Bennett's childhood awards and old books there. That night, I slept in the front bedroom on the second floor. Around 1 a.m., I was woken by a faint, intermittent sound. At first, it sounded like the gentle creaking of floorboards. Then, it became the sound of a woman's deeply suppressed gasps. I opened my eyes, staring at the dark ceiling. The old house was silent at night. Even a dog barking at the edge of the property could be heard clearly. That made the sounds from the attic exceptionally distinct. It wasn't mice, and it wasn't the wind. It was a human voice. A woman. I didn't get up immediately. I held my breath and listened for a few seconds. Another short, frantic gasp, as if someone had covered her mouth, but the sound still escaped from her throat. It was followed by a heavy thud on the floorboards, and then a man's low voice, "Be quiet." My fingers went cold. The voice was hushed, but I knew it too well. 5 years of marriage. Even through a floor, even with his voice deliberately lowered, I recognized it. Bennett, my husband, the man who was supposed to be in a hotel in Tokyo at that very moment. I sat up and grabbed my phone from the nightstand. 1:23 a.m. Half an hour ago, Bennett had sent a message. Just got to the hotel. Getting some rest. Below it was a photo of a hotel room, crisp white sheets, and a floor-to-ceiling window overlooking a city at night. I tapped the photo, zooming in. It was pristine. So pristine, it looked like it had been saved from the internet. I didn't reply. I put on a robe and walked barefoot to the door. The old wooden floors creaked easily. I pulled the door open slowly, trying not to make a sound. At the end of the hallway was the narrow staircase to the attic. There was a small wooden door at the top of the stairs. I had seen it during the day. It had an old lock on it. But now, a sliver of warm yellow light seeped from under the door. Someone was in there. I stood at the bottom of the stairs and opened my phone's voice recorder. Just as I pressed the red button, my mother-in-law's voice came from behind me. Alara. I turned around. Carol was standing at the turn of the stairs, wrapped in a thick coat. Her face was pale, but her eyes were fixed on my phone. It's so late. What are you doing out here instead of sleeping? I cupped the phone screen in my palm and looked at her calmly. Mom, it sounds like someone is in the attic. Her lips trembled. Who would be up there? This house is old. You're hearing mice. Just as she finished, a soft clink came from the attic, like a glass touching a wooden table. Carol immediately raised her voice. I told you, it's mice. You city folk get spooked by every little noise. She walked forward, blocking the staircase. I looked at her. Her body was thin, but her shoulders were tense. She wasn't afraid of mice. She was afraid I would go up. Richard, my father-in-law, came up from the first floor holding a flashlight. His face was grim. What's all this noise in the middle of the night? Dad, I said, there's a light on under the attic door. A flicker of panic crossed Richard's eyes. He quickly shone the flashlight onto the stairs. That's a motion sensor light the electricians left. It turns on by itself. I looked at the beam of light, a chilling calm suddenly settling over me. So they knew. Not only did they know, they were standing guard for him. I didn't press forward. I didn't scream. I just lowered my head, turned off the recording, and saved the picture of the Tokyo hotel to a secure album. My mother-in-law was still staring at me. Alara, have you been too stressed lately? A woman shouldn't put all her thoughts on her man. It makes you imagine things. I smiled. You're right, Mom, I am too tired. I turned and went back to my room. Before I closed the door, I heard my father-in-law mutter under his breath. I told you not to let her stay. The door clicked shut. I stood in the darkness, my back against the wood, and slowly slipped the wedding ring from my finger. The inside was engraved. Benny, my one and only. The day Bennett put it on my finger, he had said he would only have me for the rest of his life. I used to believe him. How laughable that seemed now. I put the ring in the nightstand drawer and opened my banking app. I had lost count of how many times I had transferred money to the Bennett family over the past 5 years. The $25,000 for the house renovation, the $15,000 for my mother-in-law's knee surgery, the $8,000 for my father-in-law's COPD treatments, the $3,000 wedding gift for Bennett's cousin. Holiday gifts, personal loans, medical bills, travel expenses, each transaction was initiated by me. Because Bennett would say, Alara, I need my salary for project cash flow. Can you cover this for me? I'll pay you back. He never paid me back, and I never pushed. I screenshotted every page, saving all the transfer records. The moonlight fell on the yard outside, making the old house look as still as a deep well, but I knew the two people in the attic were not asleep. At 2:06 a.m., I heard light footsteps from above. Someone was coming down. I moved to the door and peered through the old keyhole. A woman, wrapped in a man's shirt, emerged from the small attic door. She was thin, with her hair down, wearing a pair of red slippers. I recognized those slippers. 6 months ago, I had bought 2 pairs of fleece-lined slippers for my mother-in-law, one gray, one red. She had complained the red was too flashy and had never worn them. Now, they were on another woman's feet. As the woman descended the stairs, Bennett followed behind her. He wasn't wearing a jacket, just holding a glass of water. The light was dim, and I couldn't see his expression. I only heard the woman ask in a low voice, "She won't find out, will she?" Bennett replied, "She won't. She's always been obedient. I'll have my mom make an excuse to send her away tomorrow." The woman laughed. "Your wife is so pitiful." Bennett was silent for 2 seconds. Then he said, "Don't talk about her." 3 words, sharper than any explanation. Standing behind the door, my nails dug into my palms. But I didn't rush out. I just opened my phone and continued recording. The next morning, my mother-in-law called me to make breakfast as usual. She acted as if nothing had happened, standing at the kitchen entrance and directing me. "Alara, Bennett's not here, and your dad's stomach is weak. Cook the oatmeal until it's soft. And don't go near the attic. It's too dusty." My hands paused under the running water. "Mom, isn't the attic where Bennett's old books are?" I wanted to go up and look for a photo album. Her face changed instantly. "What photo album? Why are you always rummaging through things? It's not proper." I looked up at her. "Mom, why are you so nervous?" Her voice caught. My father-in-law emerged from the living room, coughing loudly. "Alara, a daughter-in-law should know her place. There are some parts of this house you don't just go through whenever you feel like it." I turned off the faucet. I drew the wiring diagrams for this house. I paid for the renovation. And now I can't even go into the attic? My father-in-law's face soured. My mother-in-law immediately burst into tears. Oh, my life is so hard. My son isn't home, and my daughter-in-law bullies us old folks. As she cried, the neighbor poked her head into the yard. What's going on? My mother-in-law wiped her eyes. Nothing. Alara's a city person. She doesn't appreciate our country ways. I watched her performance. In the past, I would have apologized immediately, because I was afraid of people saying Bennett had married an ill-mannered wife. But today, I just dried my hands and said calmly, Mom, cry a little slower. Let me get a video so Bennett can see how I'm bullying you when he gets back from Tokyo. Her crying stopped short. My father-in-law's face grew even darker. I picked up my phone and aimed it at them. Dad, Mom, breakfast is ready. I'll go get the medicine now. With that, I turned and walked out of the kitchen. The sun was bright in the yard. The curtains in the small attic window were drawn tight. I stood in the middle of the yard, looking up for a moment. Suddenly, the curtain twitched. Someone was watching me. I pulled my gaze away and smiled. Watch all you want. You have 2 more days. In 2 days, I'll make sure the entire Bennett family gets to see you. When I went to town for the medicine, I first stopped at a copy shop on Main Street. The owner recognized me from when I had the renovation blueprints printed 2 years ago. Mrs. Bennett, he said with a smile as I walked in. More documents for the old house? Help me check a flight, I said. The owner looked puzzled. A flight? I handed him the screenshot of the ticket Bennett had sent me. My husband said he flew to Tokyo. This picture is a bit blurry. Can you blow it up and print it for me? He didn't ask questions. He imported the image into his computer and enlarged it. The problem was immediately obvious. The date on the boarding pass was from December of last year. Bennett had sent me an old photo. I stared at the date, my chest feeling as if it had been slammed by something heavy. Until last night, I had held on to a sliver of absurd hope. What if I had misheard? What if it was just a strange noise? But now, that hope was shattered. The owner saw it too and looked awkward. Maybe. He sent the wrong one by mistake. I folded the printed photo and put it in my bag. Yes, a mistake. Leaving the copy shop, I didn't go back to the house right away. I sat on a bench outside the town's pharmacy and went through Bennett's messages from the past few days, one by one. Before he left, he said the project was suddenly moved up and he couldn't come to the old house with me. The day he left, he said he was boarding. At midnight, he said he was at the hotel. At 7 a.m., he sent a picture of breakfast, complaining that the rice at the Japanese hotel was too hard. I dropped the breakfast photo into a reverse image search app. 3 seconds later, a promotional page for a guest house popped up. The photo was from a popular inn in Kyoto, posted 2 years ago. I laughed out loud. He couldn't even be bothered to put effort into his lies. I sent a message to my friend Liam. Help me check something. How do you gather evidence of infidelity in a marriage effectively? Liam called me back instantly. He was my college roommate, now a family law attorney. As soon as I answered, his voice was serious. Alara, first, tell me what happened. I looked at the people coming and going outside the clinic and briefly told him about last night. He was silent for a few seconds after I finished. Don't be impulsive, he said. Don't barge in and start a fight. Don't illegally access his phone. In a public area or a property where you have residency rights, you can document what you see and hear. But be careful where you place any devices. You can't film private areas. The focus should be on capturing who is entering and exiting, and the time they spend together. The house was renovated with my money after we got married, I said. I live there when I visit. Then you have even more reason to be steady, Liam said. Get footage of them entering and leaving the attic together, staying overnight. Get proof that his parents knew and helped hide it. Combine that with the lies about the flight, his spending records, and your audio recordings. That will be enough to give you the upper hand in any divorce negotiation. Divorce. The word coming from his mouth didn't hurt as much as I expected. Maybe the pain had been frozen since last night. What if he countersues for invasion of privacy? I asked. Liam scoffed. If he wants to make a scene, he'll have to explain why he lied about being abroad and was instead hiding in an attic. Get your evidence backed up and send me a copy. After hanging up, I went to a hardware store in town. The infrared cameras were small, had clear night vision, and could connect to a phone. Best thing for catching raccoons stealing chickens, the owner said enthusiastically. Sees everything, even at night. I looked at the small black device on the shelf and nodded. That's the one. When I got back to the house, My mother-in-law was waiting for me at the gate. As soon as she saw me, her eyes went to the bags in my hands. What took you so long to get a prescription? I handed her the medicine. There was a line at the pharmacy. She rummaged through the bag, then looked behind me. What else did you buy? I lifted the other bag, which held a new power strip and light bulbs. You said the motion sensor in the attic was broken last night, right? I bought some things to check it out. Carol's face changed instantly. Who told you to check it? Your father said to leave it alone. I feigned a frown. Mom, the wiring in the attic was just redone 2 years ago. If it's really broken, it could be a fire hazard. Bennett's not here. I can't just let the house be at risk. She was about to argue when my father-in-law came out of the living room. Alara, don't make a fuss. I looked at him. Dad, just the other day, Mr. Miller's house at the east end of the town caught fire from old wiring. It burned half a room. If you don't let me check and something happens, I can't take that responsibility. Country people are terrified of fire. My father-in-law's lips moved, but he didn't stop me. My mother-in-law grew frantic. Even so, we don't need a woman going up there. We can wait for Bennett to come back. I smiled. Bennett won't be back from Tokyo for 2 weeks. What, is whatever's in the attic more important than the safety of the house? Her face froze. I didn't give her another chance to speak and walked straight into the house. But just as I reached the stairs, a soft thump came from the attic. My mother-in-law immediately let out a loud cough. It was so deliberate, it sounded like a signal to the person inside. I paused at the foot of the stairs and looked up. Mom, what are you coughing about? My throat's scratchy, she snapped. I'll get you some water. No need. Her voice was sharp with panic. I looked at her and felt a wave of pity. She wasn't ignorant of what Bennett was doing. She just believed that her son's mistakes didn't count as mistakes. A daughter-in-law discovering them, that was the mistake. At lunch, my in-laws were uncharacteristically warm. Carol served me food. Alara, Mom was just anxious this morning. I shouldn't have been so harsh. Don't take it to heart. Richard chimed in. Bennett's not here, and it's not safe for you to be driving back and forth by yourself. Rest today, and head back to the city tomorrow morning. I kept my head down, sipping my soup. I'm not in a hurry. Bennett asked me to look after you both. I'll stay a couple more days. Carol's chopsticks froze. The wrinkles on Richard's face tightened. I continued. It'll give me time to finish checking the attic wiring. The atmosphere turned icy. Just then, my phone rang. It was Bennett. I answered and put it on speaker. His background was quiet, not an airport, not a foreign street, and certainly not a hotel conference room. Alara, my mom said you're causing trouble at home. His opening line was an accusation. My mother-in-law immediately lowered her head, playing the part of a deeply wronged victim. I looked at her and asked softly, what trouble did I cause? The attic is full of junk. My parents don't want you going up there, but you insist. Since when do you have no boundaries? No boundaries. Hearing those words from his mouth, I almost laughed. Bennett, where are you right now? I asked. He paused for half a second. Tokyo. Where in Tokyo? A hotel. Which hotel? His tone became impatient. Are you interrogating me? What's the point? There's no point, I said. I just want to confirm that you're really in Tokyo. The line went quiet. My father-in-law suddenly slammed his chopsticks down. Alara, the most important thing between a husband and wife is trust. I ignored him, waiting for Bennett's answer. A few seconds later, his cold voice came through. Alara, I'm very tired. Don't take your emotions out on my parents just because I'm not there. Okay, I said. He seemed surprised by my quick compliance, his tone softening slightly. Go back to the city tomorrow. Don't cause any more trouble for them. I looked at the bowl of soup my mother-in-law had specially served me. I suddenly asked, Bennett, are you missing one of your silver cufflinks? The breathing on the other end of the line hitched. That pair of cufflinks was my anniversary gift to him. Last night, I had seen one of them by the crack of the attic door. He didn't answer, but I already knew. I hung up. My mother-in-law shot up. Why did you hang up on Bennett? I put my phone away. Bad signal. My father-in-law's face was cold. Alara, you've been acting very strange lately. I nodded. Maybe so. After the meal, I offered to wash the dishes. My mother-in-law stood at the kitchen entrance, watching me like a hawk. As I rinsed the bowls, I glanced at the stove. In the trash can, a crumpled tissue showed a hint of red. I squatted down, pretending to pick up a fallen chopstick, and pulled out a corner of the tissue. A lipstick stain. Not my mother-in-law's shade. She never wore lipstick. I took a picture of the tissue and stuffed it back where I found it. At 8 p.m., I announced that a light bulb had burned out and I needed to change it on the second floor. My father-in-law followed me up. "I'll help you." I smiled and handed him the ladder. "Then hold it steady for me, Dad." He didn't expect me to actually make him help and could only stand below with a grim face. While pretending to change the bulb, I hid a small infrared camera in the shadow of a hallway beam. The angle was aimed directly at the small attic door. It wouldn't film inside, only the doorway. My fingers were steady as I installed it, not like a woman who had just discovered her husband's betrayal. My phone pinged. Connection successful. The screen showed the closed attic door, with the time ticking in the top right corner. 8:37 p.m. I hit record. From downstairs, my mother-in-law called, "Alara, are you done yet?" I put the lampshade back on. Done. At that moment, I heard a very faint click from behind the attic door. A woman's laugh, like a taunt, like a victory. I climbed down from the ladder, looked up at that door, and had only one thought. Laugh. Laugh for 2 more days. The first night after installing the infrared camera, I barely slept. My phone screen lay on my pillow, brightness turned to the minimum. The image showed the dim, quiet second-floor hallway, only the seconds ticking by. At 12:41 a.m., the attic door opened. A man's hand appeared first. A black mechanical watch on the wrist. Bennett's watch. I had given it to him for his birthday last year. There was a thin scratch on the band from when he had bumped it while moving. Then, he stepped out, wearing dark loungewear, not a hotel bathrobe, not a business suit, but the old clothes he kept in a closet at the house. He stood at the door, turned back, and said something in a low voice. Cassidy followed him out. She was wearing my cardigan, the cream-colored cashmere sweater I had left at the house on my last visit. The sleeves were rolled up, her hair was loose around her shoulders, and she still had on those red slippers. She walked lightly, as if she knew this place well. Bennett took her hand and led her downstairs. The camera couldn't see the first floor, but sounds drifted up. The sound of running water. A woman's coquettish voice. "I'm hungry." Bennett's voice. "There's some of Alara's lasagna in the fridge." I stared at the screen, a cold smile spreading across my face. My lasagna. I had made it for my in-laws, frozen it in the fridge in case they were hungry at night or too lazy to cook in the morning. Now, it was a late-night snack for their affair. 10 minutes later, they came back up. Cassidy was holding a bowl, saying as she walked, "Your wife's lasagna is actually pretty good." Bennett hissed, "Don't talk about her." Cassidy stopped at the attic door and suddenly looked up, down the hallway. My heart tightened. She seemed to sense something, her eyes narrowing as she looked toward the beam. The next second, Bennett pulled her inside. The door closed. The screen was quiet again. I saved the video, backed it up to the cloud, and sent a copy to Liam. Liam quickly replied with 2 words, cold-blooded. "Is it enough?" I asked. "Not yet," he said. "This proves they were in the house together, entering and exiting at night. Keep filming. Add the evidence of your husband lying about his trip, your in-laws' complicity, your financial records." "Understood," I replied. The next morning I went downstairs as usual. My mother-in-law was in the kitchen, rummaging through the fridge. "Alara," she asked suddenly, "why is a tray of your lasagna missing?" I stood behind her. "Did you eat it last night, Mom?" Her back stiffened. "Your father was hungry. Isn't Dad diabetic? Eating lasagna in the middle of the night?" She slammed the fridge door shut. "Now you're policing what old people eat?" I didn't argue. I just took out my phone, opened the Notes app, and typed in front of her. June 2nd. 1 tray of frozen lasagna missing. My mother-in-law frowned. "What are you writing that for?" I looked up. "Keeping accounts." Her face turned ugly. "Are you saying you're going to charge us for a little food?" "You misunderstand, Mom," I said, my gaze drifting upstairs. "I'm not keeping account of you. I'm keeping account of who ate it." Her face went white. That morning, I called the local electrician, an old hand named Joe. When Joe arrived with his toolbox, my father-in-law nearly jumped out of his chair. "Who called you?" Joe smiled warmly. "Alara said there's a problem with the attic wiring. I came to take a look." My mother-in-law rushed to block him. "No need to look, no need, it's fine." I pulled out the wiring diagrams from the renovation 2 years ago. "Joe, could you please focus on the circuit for the second floor in the attic? The lights keep coming on at night, and I'm worried the circuit is overloaded." Joe took the diagram, his eyes lighting up. "This is a clearly drawn plan." My father-in-law's face was black. "This is a family matter. We don't need outsiders." "Dad," I said, "Joe helped with the renovation 2 years ago. He's not an outsider. Besides, Electrical safety isn't a small thing. Joe was already heading for the stairs. My mother-in-law shouted in panic, "The attic is dusty." Joe laughed. "I'm not afraid of a little dust." Just as he set foot on the second floor, a soft sound came from the attic. Joe looked up. "Someone's up there." "A cat," my father-in-law said instantly. Joe paused. "When did you get a cat?" I looked at my father-in-law. His lips were pressed into a thin line. I didn't press the issue. I just said, "Joe, let's not worry about the attic for now. Can you check the electric meter outside?" Joe followed me into the yard. The meter box was on the west wall. As soon as he opened it, he frowned. "Your electricity usage has been pretty high the last couple of days." "How high?" I asked. He pointed. "For two older people, normal usage shouldn't be this high." "Is someone running an air conditioner or an electric heater upstairs?" It was early June, not hot or cold. My in-laws lived on the first floor and never used air conditioning. I nodded. "Maybe the sensor light is faulty." Joe shook his head. "A sensor light wouldn't use this much." I had him take a picture of the meter reading and write on the service slip, "Attic circuit showing abnormal load recently." After Joe left, my mother-in-law rushed out and tried to snatch the slip from my hand. "Why did you have him write that?" I stepped back. "To have a record. In case something happens, we know the cause." Her eyes turned red. "Alara, are you determined to tear this family apart?" I looked at her. "Mom, am I the one tearing this family apart?" She was speechless. My father-in-law raged from the side. "Stop with your passive-aggressive nonsense. Bennett married you to take care of this family, not to spy on everyone and find fault." I laughed. "Take care of the family?" I opened my phone's transfer records and held it in front of him. "Dad, the $3,000 deposit for your hospital stay last year? I paid it. The $25,000 for the house renovation the year before? I fronted it. Your nephew's baby shower? I gave a $1,200 gift. You said my cousin needed help with a down payment, so I transferred her $8,000. I read them off, one by one. My father-in-law's face flushed red. My mother-in-law shrieked, "That's because we're family. What's your point bringing up old accounts?" "My point is," I said, putting my phone away, "from today on, I won't be paying another cent." The kitchen fell silent. The floor above fell silent. It was as if someone was listening. My mother-in-law suddenly softened her tone. "Alara, don't be like this. Mom knows you're upset, but couples can't keep score like this." I watched her switch tactics. I used to be afraid of her softening up. When she did, I felt like I was being cold and heartless. But now, I just felt sick. She didn't feel sorry for me. She was afraid I would cut off the money. My mother-in-law didn't let me cook lunch. She went into the kitchen herself and made a pot of noodles. I sat in the living room and watched the camera's playback on my phone. At 10:14 a.m., when Joe came upstairs, a woman's eye appeared in the crack of the attic door. At 10:15, my mother-in-law yelled from the bottom of the stairs that it was dusty. At 10:16, the eye in the door disappeared. Everyone was acting. Only I had been foolish enough to believe this was a family. At 3 p.m., I got a message from Bennett. "My mom said you stopped paying for Dad's medical expenses." I replied, "The current payments are good until the end of the month." He called immediately. I answered, "Alara, what are you trying to do?" I could hear birds chirping in the background. There was a pine grove behind the old house. The birds sounded just like that on a summer afternoon. "Aren't you in Tokyo?" I asked. "Do they have the same birds in Tokyo as they do behind our old house?" The line went silent. Then he said coldly, "You're becoming more and more irrational." "I'm warning you. Stop harassing my parents." I let out a small laugh. "Bennett, why don't you come back and warn me in person?" He was silent for a few seconds. "I'll be back when the project is over." "Good," I said. "I'll be waiting." After hanging up, the camera sent a new notification. Someone was passing by. I opened the feed. Cassidy had come out of the attic, holding my mug. She stood in the hallway and called down, "Carol, when is she leaving?" My mother-in-law's voice came from off-screen. "Soon. Bennett will handle it." Cassidy chuckled. "She's pretty patient." "That's just her personality," my mother-in-law said. "She's soft-hearted and easy to manage." I saved the video and listened to it twice. Soft-hearted and easy to manage. So that was their assessment of me. I didn't eat dinner that night. My mother-in-law knocked on my door. I said I had a stomachache. She stood outside for a few seconds, her tone impatient, so delicate. Her footsteps faded away. At 10:30 p.m., the camera sent another alert. Bennett appeared on screen. He was wearing a dress shirt, his hair a bit messy, as if he had just come in through the back door. He didn't go straight to the attic but stood in the hallway making a call. His voice was low. "I'll show up tomorrow. I'll say I came back from Tokyo early. If she suspects something, let her. She has no proof. Don't let her say anything in the family group chat. I'll handle it." I stared at the screen. No proof. I downloaded the video, backed it up, and sent it to Liam. Then I opened the Bennett family group chat, the Bennett clan, it was called. 137 people. Elders, cousins, in-laws. The last time the group was active was when Bennett got his promotion. My mother-in-law had posted 9 photos, boasting about how successful her son was, and how virtuous his wife was. I had even replied with a smiling emoji. Looking back, that emoji was a real eyesore. I pinned the group chat. 2 days. I'd give them 2 more days. Bennett returned to the old house on the evening of the 3rd day. He didn't use the front door. The camera caught him coming up the path from the backyard, slipping into the storage shed to change clothes before circling around to the front to knock. I was in the living room, taking my father-in-law's blood pressure. Hearing the knock, my mother-in-law shot up, moving with an agility that belied her sore knee. She opened the door and deliberately exclaimed, "Bennett, aren't you in Tokyo? Why are you back so early?" The acting was so forced that even my father-in-law, sitting in his chair, winced. Bennett stood at the door pulling his suitcase. The same black suitcase from the photo. He looked travel-worn, his eyes weary, as if he had really just flown back from overseas. The project wrapped up ahead of schedule. I changed my flight. I looked at his suitcase. The wheels were clean, with none of the scuffs from airport baggage handling. He smelled faintly of the soap we used at the old house. I put down the blood pressure cuff. That was a long trip. He stared at my face, trying to read my expression, but I was calm. So calm that it made him uneasy. Carol bustled over to take his suitcase. "Oh, it's good you're back, it's good you're back. Look how thin you've gotten. The food in Tokyo must not agree with you." Bennett played along with a small laugh. "It was all right." Richard coughed. "Now that you're back, deal with your wife. She's turned this house upside down the last few days." Bennett looked at me. "Alara, we need to talk." I nodded. "Okay." He led me out into the yard. The setting sun cast long shadows on the brick walls. The old house looked gentle and ancient. I used to love it here. I thought it was Bennett's roots, and my home after marriage. Now I knew that roots can entangle, and a home can devour you. Bennett stood under the pomegranate tree, his voice tight with anger. "What are you trying to do?" "You've asked me that a lot these past few days," I said. "Because you've become a stranger to me." I smiled. "Really? I find you pretty strange too." He frowned. "I know I've been busy lately and neglected you, but you can't take it out on my parents." I looked at him. "You didn't bring me a gift back from Tokyo." He froze. "What?" "You always bring me something when you travel, even just a box of pastries." His expression shifted slightly. It was a rushed trip. "What about your passport?" His eyes hardened. "Are you checking up on me?" I shook my head. "Just asking." His voice turned cold. "Alara, the worst thing in a marriage is suspicion." I nodded. "So, can you show me your passport?" He didn't speak. The wind rustled the leaves of the pomegranate tree. He looked at me, then suddenly changed his tone. "Alara, have you been under too much stress? My mom said you haven't been sleeping, just wandering around the house, saying there's a woman in the attic." "Is there not?" I asked. His eyes went cold. "No." "Then who is in the attic?" "Junk. Junk that wears my cardigan, drinks from my mug, and eats the lasagna I made." His face finally changed. It was brief, but it was enough. He quickly regained his composure. "You must have been mistaken. The lighting in the house is dim. You shouldn't scare yourself." I took out my phone. He instinctively reached for it. I stepped back. "Why are you so nervous?" He froze. "I'm just afraid you'll misunderstand." I put my phone back in my pocket, then explain. He took a deep breath. "A friend is staying over temporarily." I looked at him. "Male or female?" He pursed his lips. "Female." "What's her name?" "Cassidy." When the name came out, I still felt a sting. Cassidy. Bennett's old flame from college. I had met her once, right after we got married. She had come back from abroad, and Bennett took me to dinner. She sat across from us, smiling. "Bennett used to take such good care of me. I thought he was going to marry me." At the time, Bennett had chided her. "Don't talk nonsense." I hadn't thought much of it. Later, she got married, divorced. went abroad and came back. She would occasionally like one of my social media posts. I never imagined she would be hiding in the attic of Bennett's family home. Why is she staying in the attic? I asked. She's going through some things, Bennett said. It wasn't convenient for her to stay in a hotel. My mom has a soft spot for her, so she let her stay for a couple of days. You were in Tokyo. How did you know she was here? His Adam's apple bobbed. My mom told me. I stared at him. Bennett, do you want to try to make that story a little more complete? He finally lost his patience. Alara, do you have to be so aggressive? Cassidy is just a guest. You're making it sound so dirty. The problem is with you. The problem is with me. Hearing that, I actually laughed. It turns out the one who betrays you is always the best at twisting the knife and then blaming you for how ugly you look while you bleed. Tell her to come down, I said. Bennett's face changed. She's not feeling well. What's wrong with her? Alara, his voice grew heavy. Don't push me. I looked at his angry face and suddenly felt like this man before me was a complete stranger. For another woman, he was looking at me with such eyes for the first time. I once had a fever of 102, and all he said was, take some Tylenol. Now, Cassidy was not feeling well, and he was acting like I had stepped on his tail. I nodded. I won't push you. He visibly relaxed. But in the next second, I said, then I'll go up and see her. I turned and walked toward the house. Bennett grabbed my wrist, his grip tight. Alara. I looked down at his hand. Let go. He didn't. Stop making a scene. Her condition is unstable. She can't handle being provoked. I looked up. But I can? He froze. I asked, word by word, you lie about going to Tokyo, hide her in the attic, have your parents run interference for you, and treat me like a fool. And now you're telling me she can't handle being provoked? His fingers slowly loosened. A few neighbors were already peeking over the fence. My mother-in-law ran out of the house. Why are you two fighting again? Alara, if you have something to say it inside. Don't let the neighbors see. I looked at her. So you're worried about what the neighbors will see? Her face froze. I continued. Then why weren't you worried when you were hiding someone in the attic? The neighbor's eyes lit up. My father-in-law stormed out. Alara, what nonsense are you spouting? Bennett lowered his voice. Get inside. I didn't say anything more. I turned and went into the house. Not because I was scared, but because it wasn't the right time. I was still missing the last piece of evidence. Cassidy's own admission, the in-laws' conspiracy, Bennett's lies to my face. I needed it all, complete. That evening, there was an extra place setting at the dinner table. Cassidy finally came downstairs. She wore a pale blue dress, her face was wan, and the corners of her eyes were red. She looked like the wronged party. She stood at the bottom of the stairs and said softly, Alara, I'm sorry. I'm the one causing all this trouble. Alara, not Mrs. Bennett. I looked at her and didn't respond. Bennett immediately got up to help her to a seat, the gesture as natural as if he had done it 100 times. My mother-in-law brought a bowl of chicken soup to her. Cassidy, drink up. You're weak. I sat across from them. My bowl contained only plain rice. My father-in-law cleared his throat. Alara, Cassidy is a guest. Don't be rude. I put down my chopsticks. Guests stay in the attic? Cassidy's eyes immediately welled up. I can leave. Bennett, it's my fault. I shouldn't have come here and bothered you. Bennett frowned. No one's making you leave. My mother-in-law glared at me. Alara, you're his wife. How can you be so intolerant? I looked at the people at the table and felt the absurdity of it all. They had torn a hole in my marriage, and now they were scolding me for not smiling and offering the other woman a bowl of soup. Cassidy, I asked, when did you get here? She bit her lip. 3 days ago. I looked at Bennett. Where were you 3 days ago? Tokyo, he said coldly. I nodded. Tokyo. Remotely arranging for your old flame to move into your family home. Impressive. Cassidy's face turned white. Alara, you're mistaken. Bennett and I are just friends. As she said it, her phone, lying on the table, lit up. The caller ID read Bennett, and Bennett's own phone was right next to his hand. Everyone at the table saw it. Cassidy frantically silenced the phone. Bennett's face was ashen. I smiled. Just friends. Communicating with 2 different phones. My mother-in-law jumped in. It's probably a work number. I looked at her. You seem to know more about it than he does. She shut her mouth. The atmosphere was frozen. Just then, my phone vibrated. A new video from the infrared camera. I opened it. The footage was from 2 hours earlier. Cassidy was standing at the attic door, telling Bennett, "If she doesn't leave, I'll tell her about the baby." Bennett's face was grim. "Don't bring that up now," Cassidy said. "Bennett, you promised me. You said you'd give me a real answer." The video ended there. A baby. My hand holding the phone slowly tightened. So there was more to this drama. I looked up at the two people across from me. Bennett avoided my gaze. Cassidy was sipping her soup, a hint of triumph at the corners of her lips. I placed my phone face down on the table. Good, 2 days. The evidence was sufficient. After that night, Bennett didn't come to our room. He slept in the back bedroom on the second floor. Cassidy returned to the attic. My in-laws stayed on the first floor. The entire house seemed to be divided into factions, and I was the sole outsider. At 3 a.m., I got a message from Liam. Video evidence saved. Starting tomorrow, avoid any physical confrontation with them alone. You can formally file for divorce. I replied, I need one more public scene. The family chat? He sent back a sighing emoji. If you're really going to do it, make sure you only post factual evidence. No insults. Let them explain themselves. I looked at the screen and smiled. I wouldn't curse them. Curses were too light. I wanted them to be pinned down by the evidence itself. The next morning, I didn't make breakfast. My mother-in-law waited in the kitchen for half an hour before finally storming to my door. "Alara, what time is it? Your father hasn't eaten." I opened the door. "Mom, there are noodles in the fridge." She froze. "You want me to cook?" "You're his wife. You know him better than I do." Her face turned red with anger. "I'm a patient. My knee hurts." "It won't affect your ability to boil noodles." She raised her hand to slam the door. I raised my phone. Her hand froze in midair. "Go ahead, Mom," I said. "I'm recording." She lowered her hand, seething. "You're rebelling now." "I am," I nodded. I used to be afraid of her calling me unfilial. Not anymore. Because I finally understood that her definition of filial piety was me unconditionally serving as the Bennett family's workhorse. After I washed up and went downstairs, Bennett was sitting in the main hall, frowning. "Your mom's not well. Can't you lend a hand?" I looked at him. "Isn't Cassidy living here? Let her lend a hand." Cassidy was just coming down the stairs and froze at my words. She was dressed plainly today, a white dress and her hair down, like a fragile flower. "Alara, I can do it." My mother-in-law immediately called out in a pained voice, "Don't you move. You're too weak." I smiled. "She's weak, so I must be made of iron?" Bennett's voice was sharp. "Alara, don't target her." "Then who should I target?" "You?" He was speechless. My father-in-law slammed his cane on the floor. "Enough. What's all this fighting about first thing in the morning? Alara, you've been part of this family for 5 years, and you still don't understand how to treat us?" I walked to the dining table and picked up my car keys. "I understand. So from today on, I'm returning your decency to you." My mother-in-law asked warily, "Where are you going?" "To town." "To do what?" "Cancel the automatic payments for the medical bills." My father-in-law's face changed. "What?" I opened my phone and, in front of them, canceled the monthly wellness plan payments deducted from my bank account. Dad's chronic disease management fees. Mom's physical therapy card, I was paying for all of it. "Starting next month, you'll have to pay for it yourselves." My mother-in-law shrieked, "Alara, are you trying to kill us?" I looked at her. "You have a son." Bennett's face was grim. "Alara, if you have a problem, take it up with me. Don't take it out on my parents' health." "Take it up with you?" I turned to him. "Then pay me back the money I've fronted for the Bennett family over the last 5 years. Right now." The room fell silent. Bennett frowned. "What's the point of keeping score like this between a husband and wife?" "Are you not keeping score with Cassidy?" I retorted. Cassidy's eyes reddened again. "Alara, I really didn't come here to destroy your marriage. I was just having some trouble, and Bennett was kind enough to help." "Help you all the way to the attic bed?" I asked. Bennett shot up from his chair. "Alara!" I didn't flinch. He took a step closer, his voice low and threatening. "Do you have to make things sound so ugly?" I looked up at him. If the actions weren't ugly, how could the words be? His fists clenched. Cassidy immediately got up to grab his arm. "Bennett, don't fight with her because of me. So considerate, so understanding. Like the perfect, kind-hearted supporting actress in a movie. Too bad I wasn't the female lead fighting for the hero. I just wanted to take out the trash." At 10 a.m., I drove to town. First, to the bank, where I printed 5 years of large-sum transfer records. The teller asked what they were for. "Divorce asset settlement," I said. She glanced at me. then quietly bound the thick stack of papers. Holding them in my hand, I realized that what I had given away all these years wasn't money. It was my self-respect. Next, I went to the telecom office and pulled the payment records for the home internet. The internet at the old house was also in my name. The infrared camera in the attic connected to my phone through that very broadband connection. The entire Bennett family was using the internet I paid for, in the house I paid to fix, to cover up my husband's betrayal. How ironic. When I got back to the house in the afternoon, there was a strange car in the yard. Bennett's younger cousin, Jake, had arrived. He was 3 years younger than Bennett, always sweet-talking, and the biggest cheerleader in the family group chat. Seeing me, he grinned. "Hey, Alara. I hear things have been pretty lively here the last couple of days." I put down my bag. "Who did you hear that from?" He raised an eyebrow. "Aunt Carol. Said you've been imagining things, insisting Bennett was hiding someone in the attic." My mother-in-law came out of the kitchen. "Jake, don't listen to her. I don't know what's gotten into her lately, just causing trouble." Jake looked at me, half joking, half testing. "Alara, didn't Bennett go to Tokyo? Maybe you just miss him too much?" I said flatly. "You can ask your cousin yourself whether he went to Tokyo or not." Just then, Bennett came down from the second floor. Jake froze. "Ben, you're back?" The scene was stiff for a moment. Bennett quickly recovered. "Project finished early." Jake blinked. "So soon?" I picked up my water glass and said nothing. Jake's eyes darted between us. He wasn't stupid, just a gossip. But once the drama threatened the family's reputation, he would learn to be afraid. At lunch, my mother-in-law made a special soup. She served Cassidy first, then Bennett, and finally me. I didn't take it. "I'm not having any." She frowned. "What's wrong now?" "I'm afraid there's something in it," I said. Her face changed. "What do you mean by that?" I looked at her. "Nothing. My stomach's been upset lately. I'm only drinking bottled water that I buy myself." Bennett couldn't take it anymore. "Alara, how long are you going to keep this up?" I put down my chopsticks. "Divorce." The word dropped like a stone. Everyone at the table stopped. The spoon in Cassidy's hand clinked against her bowl. My mother-in-law was the first to react. "What did you say?" I said, "Divorce." Bennett stared at me. "Are you serious?" "Do I look like I'm joking?" I asked. His face darkened. "Just because Cassidy is staying for a few days?" I laughed. He was still downplaying it. "Bennett, I'll give you one chance. Admit, right now, in front of everyone, that you didn't go to Tokyo, that you've been at the old house this whole time, that you brought Cassidy here. If you do that, I won't make this as ugly as it could be." His eyes turned cold and menacing. "Are you threatening me?" "Yes," I answered quickly. He was taken aback. I had never been like this before. I always gave him a way out, saved his face, gave him room to explain. But now, I had dismantled the escape route. I didn't care about his face. And there was no more room. My father-in-law raged. "What divorce? The Bennett family doesn't have such shameful things happen." I looked at him. "But letting your son hide a woman in the attic isn't shameful?" My mother-in-law shrieked. "That was a misunderstanding." "What kind of misunderstanding?" I asked. "Involves gasping for breath while coming down from the attic in the middle of the night to eat the lasagna I made." Jake nearly choked on his soup. Cassidy's face was as white as a sheet. Bennett slammed his hand on the table. "Enough." The dishes rattled. I didn't move. He stared at me, his voice low. "If you want a divorce, fine. But don't drag innocent people into this." I looked at Cassidy. "She's innocent?" Cassidy's tears fell. "Alara, I know you hate me, but the baby is innocent." The table went dead silent. My mother-in-law rushed to her side. Cassidy, as if she had let it slip, covered her mouth, her tears falling faster. Bennett closed his eyes. Jake was completely frozen. I looked at the whole performance and finally laughed. "A baby?" Cassidy looked at me with tear-filled eyes. "I didn't mean to tell you, but I can't let my child not have a father." My mother-in-law immediately stood by her side. "Alara, now that you know, Mom won't hide it from you. Cassidy is carrying Bennett's child. You two have been married 5 years without children. Just think of it as doing a good deed and stop making trouble." I looked at Bennett. "Is that what you think too?" He avoided my eyes. "The baby. It's not confirmed yet." Not confirmed isn't a no. My heart felt like it had been strangled by the last thread. The truth was, Bennett and I had tried for a child. I was pregnant in our 2nd year of marriage. Bennett was busy with a project. I went to my prenatal appointments alone, took my folic acid alone. Then my mother-in-law fell and hurt herself. I rushed back to the old house to take care of her. I slipped and fell on the wet stone steps at night. I lost the baby. Bennett arrived at the hospital 3 days after my surgery. He said, "We'll have another one." But after that, he always said he was in a crucial phase of his career, that we weren't in a hurry for kids, and I believed him. Now, he had brought another woman's child before me, and his mother was telling me to do a good deed. I slowly stood up. "Fine." A flash of joy crossed my mother-in-law's eyes. "You've come to your senses?" I nodded. "I have." Bennett looked at me, his expression complex. Cassidy looked up too. I picked up my bag. "The baby is innocent, so the adults should be held responsible. My lawyer will send you the divorce papers." Bennett's face changed. "Alara." I turned and walked out. Behind me, my mother-in-law was cursing me for being cold-hearted. My father-in-law was scolding me for being undignified. Cassidy was crying that it was all her fault. Bennett chased me into the yard and grabbed me. "Don't be rash." I turned to face him. "Bennett, the most sensible thing for you to do right now is not to tell me not to be rash." He frowned. "Then what is it?" I shook his hand off. "It's to figure out how you're going to explain this to the entire Bennett family." He froze. I got in my car, closed the door, and locked it. He pounded on the window. "What do you mean?" I didn't answer. As the car started, the infrared camera pushed another video notification. Cassidy was standing in the second-floor hallway, her hand on her stomach, telling my mother-in-law, "Carol, as long as Alara agrees to the divorce, I won't treat you badly." My mother-in-law held her hand. "Don't worry, she can't make any waves." I saved the video and drove out of the Bennett family's yard. In the rearview mirror, Bennett stood at the gate, his face dark and grim. He still didn't know the storm was coming. I didn't go back to the city right away. I got a room at a motel in town. It was small, with yellowing wallpaper, and the window looked out over the local market. But sitting on the edge of the bed, I felt cleaner than I had at the old Bennett house. At least here, no one was lying to me. I sorted all the evidence by date. Category 1. Bennett's lies about his Tokyo trip. The old boarding pass screenshot, the reverse image search of the hotel photo, the spending records. The records came from alerts on my supplementary credit card, which he thought I never checked. In the last 3 days, he had used it at a pharmacy, a convenience store, and a baby supply store in town. Category 2. The infrared camera videos. Them entering and leaving the attic at night, Cassidy wearing my clothes and using my mug, Bennett sneaking back through the back door to change clothes and pretend he'd just returned from abroad. Category 3. The in-laws cover-up recordings. My mother-in-law saying I was soft-hearted and easy to manage. My father-in-law saying, "I told you not to let her stay." Category 4. Years of financial records for the Bennett family. Bank transfers, the renovation contract, medical bills, gifts. Category 5. Cassidy's pressuring tactics, the talk of the baby, the promise not to treat my in-laws badly. By the time I finished organizing everything, it was 1 a.m., Liam called. "Are you safe?" "Safe. Come back to the city tomorrow. I'll draft the divorce agreement for you. Don't go back to the old house alone." I looked at the video thumbnails on my computer screen. "I have to go back one more time." Liam's voice tightened. "Alara, some things are still there. My design plans, copies of my documents, and the vintage gold locket my mother left me. That bracelet was in a drawer in the bedroom of my marital home. I had brought it to the old house once after the renovation. My mother-in-law said she liked it, and I almost gave it to her. Thank God I didn't." Liam was silent for a moment. "Take people with you." "I will." The next morning, I called a locksmith and a mover from town. At the same time, I messaged Bennett. "I'm coming back to the old house to get my personal belongings. Please do not obstruct me." He didn't reply, but when my car pulled up to the house, he was already standing in the yard, as if he had been waiting. He had changed into a clean white shirt, his hair neatly combed. He looked like the suave, respectable Bennett again. My mother-in-law sat in the living room, her eyes red and swollen. My father-in-law's face was grim. Cassidy was nowhere to be seen, but the camera showed she was in the attic. I walked into the yard. Bennett spoke first. "We need to talk." "I'm here to get my things," I said. "Alara, I was up all night thinking." His voice softened. "I handled this badly. But believe me, it's not what you think with Cassidy." I looked at him. "Then what is it?" "She's been having a hard time since her divorce, being harassed by her ex-husband. I was just helping her hide for a few days." "Hide in the Bennett family attic?" "The old house is remote and safe." "And you?" His Adam's apple moved. "I was worried something would happen to her, so I came back to check. I laughed. So the Tokyo business trip was a lie? He fell silent. I took a step closer. Bennett, tell the whole story. He avoided my eyes. The project was canceled. I was afraid you'd worry, so I didn't tell you. You were afraid I'd worry, so you sent me an old boarding pass and a stock photo of a hotel and snuck down from the attic with her in the middle of the night? His face turned ugly. You've done your research. Not as well as you've spun your lies. My mother-in-law couldn't help but interject. Bennett has explained himself. What more do you want? A woman who's too nitpicky won't have a long marriage. I looked at her. Is your marriage long because Dad didn't hide a woman in your attic, or because you were willing to put up with it? She was stunned into silence. My father-in-law roared, Alara, is that any way to talk to your elders? With my mouth, I said. The mover behind me stifled a laugh. Bennett's face grew darker. He clearly wasn't used to me not saving face for the family in front of outsiders. In the past, when relatives came over and my mother-in-law criticized my cooking, I would smile and remake the dish. When my father-in-law said I couldn't have children, I would lower my head in silence. When Bennett ignored me, I would explain for him that he was busy with work. I had spoiled them. They thought my decency was a doormat they could wipe their feet on. I walked past them towards the second floor. Bennett followed. I'll go with you. No need. He followed anyway. In the second-floor hallway, the attic door was shut. I deliberately paused as I passed it. It was quiet behind the door. Bennett stopped too. Is Cassidy in there? I asked. She's not here, he said. As soon as he spoke, a phone rang from inside the attic. The ringtone was crisp, ringing over and over. Bennett's face went white. Downstairs, my mother-in-law panicked. Whose phone is ringing? I looked at Bennett. The junk's phone? He gritted his teeth. Alara, do you have to be this way? Which way? Pushing everyone to the point of embarrassment? Yes, I nodded. I raised my hand and knocked on the attic door. Cassidy, come out. No one answered. The ringing stopped. I knocked again. Aren't you carrying Bennett's child? Why are you afraid to even open the door now? A muffled sob finally came from within. Bennett. Bennett immediately blocked my path. She's not well. I watched him guard the door. 5 years ago, I fainted from low blood sugar in a parking garage, and he was in a meeting and didn't answer his phone. The night after my miscarriage, when I woke up in pain, he told me he had to be up early and asked me not to turn on the light. On the anniversary of my mother's death, he bailed on me at the last minute for a project dinner. But now, he stood in front of the attic door like he was protecting the most precious thing in the world. Suddenly, I didn't feel sad at all. Sadness is something you give to people. He wasn't worthy. I turned and went into the front bedroom. It still held traces of my stay. The wedding ring was in the nightstand drawer. I took it and put it in my bag. Not for sentimental reasons, but for the eventual settlement of marital assets. My few clothes in the closet had been rummaged through. The cream-colored cardigan was gone. I took out my phone and took a picture. In the vanity drawer, the gold locket was still there, but a pearl earring was missing from beside it. It was one of the things my mother had left me. I searched twice but couldn't find it. I walked out of the room and looked toward the attic. Cassidy, do you have my earring? No sound from inside. My mother-in-law rushed up from downstairs. What earring? Stop blaming people for everything. I showed her the photo on my phone. I wore this pair last week. I left them in the drawer. Now one is missing. Cassidy finally opened the door. Her eyes were red, and she was wrapped in a thin robe. She was wearing the pearl earring as a pendant on a necklace. I stared at the pearl. She instinctively covered it. This is mine. I walked toward her. Bennett blocked me. Alara, it's just an earring. I looked up at him. It was my mother's. He froze. He knew. I had told him before. My mother gave me the pair before she died, telling me to touch them whenever I felt wronged, to remember that I was loved. Bennett fell silent. Cassidy started to cry. I didn't know. I saw it on the floor next to the drawer and thought no one wanted it. No one wanted it. She took my husband and said he was willing. She wore my clothes and said she was borrowing them. Now she dared to say my mother's heirloom was something no one wanted. Take it off, I said, holding out my hand. She clutched it tighter and hid behind Bennett. Bennett, I really didn't know. Bennett frowned. Cassidy, give it to her. Cassidy reluctantly took off the necklace. I took the earring, wrapped it in a tissue, and then placed it in a clear evidence bag in front of everyone. My mother-in-law's eyes widened. What are you doing? For court, I said. Bennett's face hardened. Alara, you're really going to take this to court? I looked at him. What do you think? His voice cracked. 5 years of marriage. Can't we just sit down and talk? We can, I said. Tell her to move out of the attic. Publicly admit you cheated. Cooperate with the division of assets. And pay back the money I fronted for your family. My mother-in-law immediately shrieked, Impossible! My father-in-law added angrily, In your dreams! Bennett said nothing. Cassidy cried harder. I can leave. I don't want to ruin your marriage. I'll raise the baby by myself. She started toward the stairs, her steps unsteady, as if she might fall at any moment. Bennett, predictably, rushed to support her. Stop it. I watched the familiar scene, feeling nothing but tired. I finished packing my things and went downstairs. As I was leaving, my mother-in-law rushed over and grabbed my bag. Leave those account books. They're family property. I grabbed her wrist. Mom, let go. She wouldn't, I said calmly. If you don't let go, I'm calling the police. She dropped my bag as if it were hot. I walked out of the yard. Bennett chased after me. Alara. I stopped. He stood in the doorway, a hint of panic finally in his eyes. What will it take for you to stop? I looked at him. Bennett, don't you get it? Get what? I'm not making a scene. I opened my car door. I'm done with you. The color drained from his face. I got in the car. As I was leaving, the camera sent a second, more damning video. In it, Cassidy was sitting on the attic bed, crying. Will you divorce her and marry me? Bennett was silent for a long time. Then he said, I will. But not right now. What about her? Cassidy asked. She can't live without me, he answered. I looked at the screen and gently pressed save. Excellent. He had given me the final stab and also the final bullet. I didn't post the video right away. I waited until 7 p.m. the next day. That was prime time in the Bennett family group chat. Someone was posting pictures of their dinner. Someone else was sharing a health article. Another was asking about plans for the 4th of July barbecue. As usual, my mother-in-law posted a photo of my father-in-law taking his blood pressure. The caption read, The old man's health isn't good. So thankful Alara came back to take care of us these past few days. Such a performance. Relatives chimed in below, praising Alara, the virtuous daughter-in-law. Bennett is so lucky. You don't find dutiful daughters-in-law like that anymore. Jake even posted a smiley face. Thanks for your hard work, Alara. When Ben gets back from Tokyo, have him buy you a nice gift. I looked at the message, my finger hovering over the screen. Now, first I posted a picture. Bennett's old boarding pass, with the date from last year enlarged next to it. The chat paused for a few seconds. Someone asked, What's this? I didn't reply. Second picture. The hotel photo and the reverse image search result. Third, the credit card receipts from the local stores. Fourth, the electrician's service slip. Then I sent the first video. The infrared footage of Bennett and Cassidy emerging from the attic at midnight, going downstairs for lasagna, and returning to the attic together. The video was unedited, the time, location, and people all perfectly clear. The chat exploded. Isn't that Bennett? I thought he was in Tokyo. Who's that woman? The attic? At the old house? My mother-in-law was the first to react. Alara, have you lost your mind? Delete that right now. I didn't. I sent the second video. Bennett sneaking in through the back of the house, changing clothes in the shed, then circling around to the front door to pretend he had just arrived from Tokyo. The group went quiet for 3 seconds, then messages flooded in. Jake, Ben, you really didn't go to Tokyo? Aunt Susan, Carol, what is going on? The patriarch, Uncle Howard. This is a family disgrace. Alara, stop posting. I replied with the longest message I had ever sent in the group. To all the elders and relatives, since the Bennett family has been saying I'm paranoid, bullying my in-laws, and acting out, I'm posting the facts for everyone to see. You can all see what I've been paranoid about, and who has been bullied. My mother-in-law sent 3 voice messages. I played the first. She was crying. It's not what you think. The second, she was screaming. Alara, you vicious monster. The third was just gibberish. Cassidy is just a guest. She's pregnant. She can't be stressed. The group blew up again. Pregnant? Whose baby? Pregnant and living in the attic? Bennett. Say something. Bennett finally appeared. He typed one sentence. Alara, delete it. We'll talk privately. I looked at the words and laughed. Talk privately? They had lied to me as a united front. Now that the evidence was out, they wanted to talk privately. I sent the third video. Cassidy at the attic door, asking my mother-in-law, when is she leaving? My mother-in-law's reply, soon. She's soft-hearted and easy to manage. The messages in the chat suddenly dwindled. It was too ugly. So ugly that the same people who had praised my virtue now had no idea what to say. Bennett started calling me directly. I didn't answer. He called 7 times. I rejected them all. Then I posted the last video. Cassidy, will you divorce her and marry me? Bennett, I will. But not right now. Cassidy, what about her? Bennett, she can't live without me. After that, the group went completely silent. A minute later, Jake wrote, Bro, that's messed up. That message opened the floodgates. A cousin wrote, Everyone has seen how Alara has treated this family over the years. An aunt added, Didn't Alara pay for the house renovation? Another relative said, Hiding a pregnant woman in the attic? What kind of behavior is that? Uncle Howard tried to control the damage. Alara, this is a family disgrace. Delete it first. I replied, This isn't outside. You are all family. You all have a right to know how Bennett and his parents handle a marriage. No name-calling, no crying, just facts. The ugliest facts. 10 minutes later, Bennett was at my motel door. When I saw him through the peephole, he looked like he had been dragged from a river. His hair was a mess, his shirt was buttoned wrong, and his eyes were shot with red. He knocked. Alara opened the door. I didn't move. He knocked again. I know you're in there. If you have something to say, we can talk on the phone, I said through the door. Delete the videos first. Can't. People can delete them from the chat, but you think no one saved them? Silence from outside. Then, his voice dropped. Alara, do you have to destroy me? I went closer to the door. Am I the one destroying you? His breathing was ragged. It's not what you think. Cassidy and I, it wasn't like that at first. She was being threatened by her ex after her divorce, and I was just helping her. What happened later? It was an accident. An accident that got her pregnant? He didn't speak. Bennett, I said, adults don't call betrayal an accident. I heard his choked breath from the other side of the door. After a long moment, he said, I was wrong. It was the first time he had admitted fault. But it was too late. I didn't open the door. Alara, give me one more chance, he pleaded. I'll make Cassidy leave. I'll handle the baby situation. We can go back to how things were. How things were? I almost laughed out loud. Back to me taking care of his parents, cleaning up his messes, enduring his coldness, all while pretending our marriage was perfect? The way things were is dead, I said. His voice trembled. Don't be so absolute. When you hid her in the attic, did you ever think about how I would feel? Silence from outside. Then his phone rang. The sound came through the crack under the door. It was his mother. He answered, his voice raw with frustration. Mom, I'm handling it. On the other end, his mother was wailing. Handling what? The family chat has gone crazy. Your father's blood pressure shot up, and Cassidy is crying that her stomach hurts. You need to come back. Bennett looked at my door. Alara, Cassidy's not feeling well. I have to go back first. Please, don't post anything else. I stood inside, a bleak, comical feeling washing over me. He had come to beg me to take down the videos, but the moment Cassidy cried about a stomachache, he had to go. Even now, his choice hadn't changed. Go, I said. He seemed to hear something in my tone and quickly tried to explain. That's not what I mean. Bennett, I cut him off. This is your last time walking away from me to go to her. A dead silence from outside the door. After a long time, he said quietly, I'll come find you tomorrow. I didn't answer. His footsteps finally faded away. I went back to the table and opened my laptop. The arguments in the group chat were still raging. My mother-in-law was calling me a viper. Cassidy was posting tearful voice messages apologizing. Bennett was silent. The relatives had moved from shock to questioning, and then to cautiously telling me not to be rash. I looked at the messages, my heart as calm as a frozen lake. At 9:30 p.m., Liam sent the draft of the divorce agreement. I read it line by line. Division of assets, confirmation of debts, evidence of fault, reimbursement of my financial contributions, repayment for the house renovation. At the end, I added a note. I, Alara Collins, do not accept mediation or reconciliation. The next morning, another message appeared in the Bennett family chat. Cassidy had posted a picture of an ultrasound. The caption read, I know I shouldn't have come here, but the baby is innocent. Alara, you're a woman too. Please, give us a chance to live. I clicked on the ultrasound. I looked at the date, and then I smiled. The date was from 3 months ago, back when Bennett wasn't supposedly helping her hide from her ex. This wasn't an accident. It was a premeditated plan. I saved the ultrasound picture. Excellent. The next act would be at the family meeting. Cassidy's ultrasound tore away the last shred of the Bennett family's dignity. In the group chat, some people started trying to persuade me. Alara, the baby really is innocent. Bennett was wrong, but you've been married 5 years without kids. You have to accept it. Men make mistakes. It's good if they come back. I didn't reply to a single one. I knew that people's sympathy is easily swayed by an ultrasound, especially from those who don't have to bear the consequences. With a simple "the baby is innocent," they wanted to erase my 5 years of marriage, the pain of my miscarriage, my financial contributions, and my trampled dignity. At 10 a.m., my mother-in-law called. I answered and recorded it. She started by crying. Alara, Mom knows Bennett did you wrong. But that's a Bennett family grandchild in Cassidy's belly. You can't be so heartless. I sat at the motel desk, my mother's earring beside me. Mom, do you know I was pregnant once, too? There was a pause on the other end. That's all in the past. I laughed. 3 days after my miscarriage, you told me to come back to the old house to take care of you. Do you remember that? She was silent for 2 seconds, then her tone turned impatient. My leg was in so much pain I couldn't get out of bed. There was no one else. As a daughter-in-law, wasn't it your duty to help? So it was my duty to lose my child? Don't say that, it's bad luck. Bad luck. My loss was just bad luck in her mouth. How far along is Cassidy? I asked. My mother-in-law grew wary. Why are you asking? Just confirming the timeline. It's Bennett's. That's all that matters. I looked down at the ultrasound from the group chat. Gestational age, 12 weeks. 3 months ago, Bennett had been on a business trip to Charleston. He had come back with the scent of an unfamiliar perfume on him. I had asked about it, and he said it was just from the smoky, boozy conference rooms. So that's when it had started. Sensing my silence, my mother-in-law thought I was wavering and softened her tone. Alara, let me give you some honest advice. You and Bennett haven't had kids all these years, and people talk. Now that Cassidy is pregnant, we can get her to sign over custody and you can adopt the baby. You'll still be the only Mrs. Bennett. I closed my eyes. The absurdity of it all was so extreme it was calming. Mom, it's the 21st century, not some soap opera in your family's backyard. I'm trying to help you, she snapped. Once you're divorced, starting over at your age with all this baggage, what kind of good man are you going to find? I'm not looking for one, I said. I'm looking for a lawyer. I heard something smash on the other end of the line. My mother-in-law screamed, You dare! I hung up and saved the recording. At 11 a.m., Bennett messaged me, Let's meet at noon. Don't bring a lawyer. I replied, Fine, I'll pick the place. I chose a coffee shop next to the town hospital. It was crowded, and there were cameras. When he arrived, his eyes were bloodshot. Overnight, he seemed to have aged several years. He sat down, and his first words were, Alara, the videos have already started to affect my work. I looked up. My boss asked me about my personal conduct. The project is on hold. His voice was low. You know how important this project is to me. I stirred my coffee. When you were hiding Cassidy in the attic, did you know how important my marriage was to me? He was silent. After a moment, he said, I admit I was wrong. But posting it in the family chat was enough. Don't escalate it further. Are you scared? His face soured. Alara, we're husband and wife, not enemies. We stopped being husband and wife the day you started lying to me. A flash of pain crossed his eyes. I never wanted a divorce. I laughed. You told Cassidy you'd divorce me and marry her. His hand on the table froze. I was just trying to pacify her. And telling me you don't want a divorce is just trying to pacify me? He couldn't answer. I took the divorce agreement from my bag and pushed it across the table. Sign it. He didn't even look at it, just pushed it back. I'm not signing. Then I'll sue. Alara, he hissed, his voice laced with anger. Do you have to be so absolute? I looked at him. Bennett, I'm just giving you back your own choices. Cassidy, the baby, the Bennett family's reputation, you wanted it all. Now that I'm out of the picture, shouldn't that make things perfect? It's not the same. How is it not the same? His expression was complicated. You shouldn't have done it this way. I laughed. They were always so concerned with the way things were done, never with the harm they caused. Just then, Cassidy arrived. She wasn't in a wheelchair, nor was she so weak she couldn't walk. She wore a loose-fitting dress, one hand on her belly, her eyes filled with tears. Seeing her, Bennett's face changed. "Why are you here?" Cassidy looked at me. "Alara, I wanted to apologize to you in person." "Don't call me Alara," I said. My mother only had one child. Her face went pale. People in the coffee shop started to look over. Cassidy bit her lip, tears streaming down. "I know you hate me, but Bennett and I are truly in love. Your marriage already had problems. It wasn't because of me." "You're right, there were problems," I nodded. A flicker of hope crossed her eyes. I continued. "The problem is that he committed adultery, you were the other woman, and his parents helped cover it up." Her face froze. Bennett frowned. "Alara, don't say these things in public." I looked at him. "You dared to do them. Why can't I say them?" Cassidy suddenly clutched the table, her voice trembling. "My stomach hurts." Bennett immediately stood up to help her. "Cassidy!" Everyone was watching now. Cassidy bent over in pain, sweat beading on her forehead. I sat there, unmoving. Bennett looked up at me, his eyes filled with blame. "Alara, did you have to push it this far?" I picked up my bag. "The hospital is right next door." He swept Cassidy into his arms and rushed out. I followed. Not because I was worried about her, but because I needed more complete evidence. At the hospital, Cassidy was taken to the OB/GYN department. My mother-in-law arrived soon after. Seeing me in the hallway, she rushed at me, ready to strike. "You bring nothing but bad luck. If anything happens to Cassidy, I'll kill you." I stepped aside, and she stumbled, nearly falling. A nurse immediately shouted, "No fighting in the hospital." Carol sat on the floor and wailed, "My life is so hard. My daughter-in-law won't tolerate my grandson." A crowd started to gather. Her wails grew louder. She used to use this trick on me, and I would panic, give in, try to explain. This time, I just took out my phone. "Mrs. Bennett, please continue. I'm recording. I'll give it all to my lawyer." Her crying stopped short. Bennett looked back from the exam room door, his face ashen. "Alara, that's enough." I looked at him. "Are the test results back?" He didn't speak. 20 minutes later, the doctor came out. The patient was emotionally agitated, but there's no major issue for now. However, the gestational age doesn't quite match some of the records she provided. We recommend further tests. Cassidy's face was unnaturally white. I looked at the doctor. "Doctor, was the ultrasound she posted in a group chat from 12 weeks ago?" The doctor frowned. "I can't disclose private information." I nodded. "No need to disclose. I'm just reminding her that falsifying or altering medical records can have legal consequences." Cassidy's head shot up. "What are you talking about?" I took out the screenshot of the ultrasound she had posted. "The hospital ID number and format on this one don't match the system you're using today. I've already had someone verify it. The template is an old version." Her lips trembled. Bennett looked at her. "Cassidy?" Tears rolled down her face. "I was just so scared. I was afraid you wouldn't want me, so I just wrote an earlier date." An earlier date. Such a light phrase. Carol rushed to her defense. "As long as she's pregnant, what does a few days matter?" I looked at her. "Of course it matters." I circled the date and showed it to Bennett. 3 months ago, you were on a business trip in Charleston. Cassidy was also in Charleston. After you came back, you used your credit card to buy a woman's necklace for $1,800. You said it was a gift for a client's wife. The color drained from Bennett's face bit by bit. Cassidy cried and grabbed his arm. "Bennett, I just love you so much." He shook her off. For the first time, Cassidy froze. "Bennett, what are you doing?" my mother-in-law demanded. "She's carrying your child." Bennett looked at me, his voice hoarse. "You checked all of that." "Not much," I said. "You just left too many tracks." In the hospital hallway, the onlookers' expressions slowly changed. A moment ago, some had sympathized with Cassidy. Now, their gazes were full of complexity. I put my phone away. "Bennett, sign the papers. Don't wait for me to submit the evidence to the court." He didn't answer. Carol wanted to argue, but was pulled back by Richard. Cassidy sobbed quietly. I turned and left the hospital. As I reached the entrance, Bennett chased after me. "Alara." I stopped. For the first time, real panic was in his eyes. "The house. It can be yours," he said hurriedly. "You always liked the old house, right? I'll get my parents to agree to transfer the deed to you." Just delete the videos. We can put the divorce on hold. I laughed. Bennett, every shingle and wire in that house was paid for by me. And now you're offering me my own sacrifice to patch up my wounds? His face was gray. I opened my car door. Your family really knows how to do business. The Bennett family's annual gathering was set for the day before the 4th of July. It was meant to be a yearly clan reunion. In the past, my mother-in-law loved to have me run around at these events. I would be in charge of ordering food, buying gifts, arranging seating, and smiling while enduring the elders' judgment about my empty womb. Alara, married 5 years and still no news? A woman needs to have children to be secure. Bennett is so successful, the family line can't end with him. Every time, Bennett would sit off to the side, sipping tea. They're just nosy relatives, he'd say. Don't take it to heart. But he never once defended me. This year, I went to the gathering. But not to cook. I went to settle accounts. The yard of the old house was full of cars. When I arrived, 3 tables were already full in the great room. The chatter died down noticeably when I walked in. My mother-in-law stood by the mantel, her eyes as swollen as walnuts. My father-in-law's face was dark. Bennett sat at a side table. He stood up immediately when he saw me. Cassidy was there too, sitting next to Carol, wearing a loose dress, her face pale, one hand resting on her stomach, a deliberate reminder to everyone of the Bennett blood she carried. Bennett's oldest uncle, Howard, sat at the head of the main table. He coughed heavily. Alara, since you're here, sit down. Everyone is here. Let's clear the air. I pulled out a chair and sat. Fine. Uncle Howard glanced at me. What you did in the group chat went too far. Bennett was wrong. But for you to post those videos, you've brought shame upon the Bennett name. So, today is a trial for me? I asked. He frowned. It's not a trial, it's a mediation. What couple doesn't fight? You young people shouldn't be so extreme. I nodded. So which issue should we mediate first? His fake business trip? Hiding a woman in the attic? Or his parents lying to my face? Someone at the table coughed awkwardly. My mother-in-law immediately started crying. Alara, Mom has already apologized to you. What more do you want? I looked at her. When did you apologize? She was speechless. You've made me sick with anger. I took out my phone and played the recording. Her voice filled the room. She's soft-hearted and easy to manage. As long as we keep it from her until Cassidy has the baby, she'll have to accept it. Where's a divorced woman going to go and start over? She doesn't have the leverage she thinks she does. The hall went dead silent. My mother-in-law lunged for my phone. I stepped back. Bennett grabbed her. Mom! She broke down, screaming. You recorded me! You are a vicious, scheming woman! I looked at her. Mom, when you said those words, you didn't think they were vicious? Uncle Howard's face darkened. Alara, this kind of recording. Uncle, I cut him off. I didn't come here today to be lectured by you. I took a file folder from my bag, a thick stack of account books and bank statements, and placed it on the table. I'm here to inform you that it's time for the Bennett family to pay back what they owe me. My father-in-law shot up. Nonsense. When did we ever owe you money? I opened the first page. 2 years ago, the house renovation contract. Total cost, $28,300. Bennett paid $3,000. The remaining $25,300 was paid from my personal account. Page 2. Carol's knee surgery, hospital deposit, imported medical supplies, post-op physical therapy. Total, $15,600. Page 3. Richard's Cobb D treatment, oxygen machine, annual physicals. Total, $8,420. Page 4. Gifts and cash for Bennett family relatives over 5 years. Total, $23,700. I read each entry, and with each one, the air in the room grew colder. Some people looked down. Some glanced nervously at my mother-in-law. Her face was pale, but she was still defiant. You did all that willingly. That's right, I said. I was willing because I thought we were a family. But now that you say I have no tolerance, that I'm not fit to be Mrs. Bennett, then that willingness is over. Bennett's voice was hoarse. Alara, stop. I looked at him. Are you embarrassed? His eyes were red. I'll pay you back. It's not you, Will. I pushed the lawyer's letter across the table. You must. Uncle Howard's face was grim. Alara, to bring lawyers into a personal matter, there's no turning back. I have no intention of turning back, I said. As the words fell, Bennett's hand visibly trembled. Cassidy suddenly stood up. Alara, I know you hate me. I can help Bennett pay back some of the money. Just please, don't make things so hard for him. I looked at her. You'll help him pay? She bit her lip. I don't have much, but I'm willing to take responsibility. I smiled. With what? The rent Bennett paid for you last month? Or the $1,800 necklace he bought you? Cassidy's face went white. My mother-in-law snapped. What's wrong with a man buying his woman a few things? I opened another file. Large expenditures from a joint marital account, without spousal consent, for a third party are subject to clawback. The tears in Cassidy's eyes froze. She was finally scared. Bennett looked at me, his voice a near plea. Alara, Cassidy is pregnant. So? Don't push her. I looked at him. You're choosing her again. His lips moved, but no words came out. All the relatives in the room watched this scene unfold. They used to say I wasn't good enough for Bennett, that he was a rising star and I was just quiet and sensible. Now they were finally seeing how the rising star Bennett had handed me the knife, again and again. Jake, sitting in the corner, suddenly spoke up. Ben, this isn't right. Bennett shot him a look. Stay out of this. Jake shrugged. Just telling the truth. Everyone knows how much Alara has spent on this family over the years. If you don't want to be married anymore, fine. Part ways amicably. But you can't take her money and have another woman on the side. The words were like a slap. Bennett's face went from white to red and back again. My mother-in-law was shaking with rage. Jake, whose side are you on? The right one, Jake said. The tide in the room had turned. Someone started telling Bennett to just sign the agreement. Someone else told Carol to stop making a scene. Someone whispered that Cassidy shouldn't have come. Sitting there, Cassidy's fragile act finally crumbled. She clutched her stomach and cried, I'll just leave! You're all ganging up on me! I'll take my baby and go! She ran out. My mother-in-law immediately chased after her. Bennett instinctively stood up. I looked at him. He stopped. In that moment, he seemed to finally realize that if he chased her out that door, there would be absolutely no turning back for us. But he only hesitated for 2 seconds. Then he ran after her. The room was silent. I looked down and put the account books away. Uncle Howard sighed. Alara. I stood up. Everyone saw it today. It's not me who's tearing this apart. It's him, making a choice, every single time. I picked up my bag and walked out of the house. Outside, Cassidy was being held by Bennett, crying in his arms. My mother-in-law was scolding me from the side. My father-in-law smoked grimly. The setting sun cast their long, ugly shadows at the entrance, a pathetic, old play. I walked past them. Bennett suddenly let go of Cassidy and rushed over, grabbing my hand. Alara, I was wrong. It was the second time he had said it. More pathetic than the first. I looked at his hand. Let go. He wouldn't. I was really wrong. Let's go home and talk, okay? I looked up at him. Bennett, when you chased after her just now, the talking was over. His face went white. I pulled my hand back. The divorce papers. My lawyer's office. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Behind him, Cassidy's crying grew louder. He didn't turn back. But this time, it didn't matter. The next morning at 10 a.m., Bennett didn't show up at the lawyer's office. His mother did. Carol wore all black, as if for a funeral. She walked in, sat on the sofa in the conference room and said, Alara, are you really going to push Bennett to his death? Liam, sitting next to me, turned on his voice recorder. Mrs. Bennett, our appointment today was with Mr. Bennett. She glared at him. Who are you? Miss Collins' legal counsel. Carol sneered. A lawyer. So what? This is Bennett family business. It's not for outsiders to meddle in. When it involves divorce, division of assets, and debt recovery, it is no longer purely a family matter, Liam said calmly. She didn't understand any of that. She turned to me. Alara, come home with Mom. I was angry yesterday. I said the wrong things. Don't hold it against me. I looked at her. This time, she wasn't crying or yelling. She was trying to be humble. But there was no remorse in her eyes, only calculation. Where's Bennett? I asked. Her face stiffened. He has something at work. Liam pushed a document across the table. If Mr. Bennett continues to be a no-show, we will prepare to file a lawsuit. Carol panicked. Sue, Sue, all you know is Sue. Are all you women happy only when you see a man fail? Mom, I said. I'm not happy to see him fail. She relaxed slightly. I continued. I'm just not happy to see him succeed by stepping on me. Her face soured again. Just then, the conference room door opened. Bennett had finally arrived. He looked like he hadn't slept, with stubble on his chin and a wrinkled suit. But his eyes were full of suppressed anger. Alara, you filed to freeze the accounts? The joint marital property portion, for asset preservation, I said. You know the company project needs cash flow right now. I do. Then why did you do it? I looked up at him. Bennett, when you used our joint assets to rent an apartment for Cassidy, buy her jewelry, and pay for her checkups, did you ever think about whether I would find out? He was speechless. Liam pushed a list across the table. Mr. Bennett, this is a preliminary list we've compiled of abnormal expenditures from the marital assets. If this goes to trial, we will request a more thorough investigation. Bennett flipped through a couple of pages, his face growing darker. You investigated my accounts. We worked from the family credit card statements and joint account records provided by Miss Collins, Liam said. It's all legal. Carol was getting impatient. Bennett, don't waste time with them. All she wants is money. I looked at her. Yes, I want money. She was stunned. I want what's mine, I said. Bennett closed his eyes. Alara, can we talk alone? Liam looked at me. I nodded. He got up and left, but the voice recorder stayed on the table. Bennett saw it but didn't object. He sat across from me, his voice much lower. I had a talk with my boss last night. I said nothing. The videos from the group chat got out. They weren't posted online, but the client found out. They think I'm too high risk personally. The contract is on hold. I looked at him. Are you looking for my sympathy? He gave a bitter smile. No, I'm just telling you, I'm already paying the price. This is just the beginning. Pain flashed in his eyes. You weren't like this before. I nodded. Before, I was a fool. You were kind. Kindness is not a reason to be deceived. He was silent for a long time. The money for Cassidy. I'll put it back into the joint account. I'll handle things with her too. How will you handle it? I asked. His Adam's apple bobbed. I'll have her move out. And the baby? He looked away. We'll deal with that after it's confirmed. I laughed. See? You still want to have it both ways. No, he said quickly. I can't just abandon a child. Then take care of it. I pushed the agreement toward him again. After the divorce, you can take care of whoever you want. He stared at the agreement, his fingers pressing on the edge of the paper, refusing to turn the page. Alara, I never wanted to lose you. If he had said that 6 months ago, I might have cried. Now I just felt numb. It was like someone standing in front of a burned-down house, saying he never meant for it to catch fire. But he was the one who struck the match, locked the doors, and sealed the windows. You didn't want to lose me, I said. You just assumed I would never leave. His face was pale. You thought I loved you too much to leave, I continued. You thought I would endure it for the sake of the family's reputation. You thought, at 30, with no children and so much invested, I wouldn't dare to walk away. His eyes slowly reddened. That's not it. It is. I cut him off. Bennett, Cassidy didn't just appear out of nowhere. Your parents didn't just suddenly decide to help you. All of you just always thought I was easy to manage. He covered his face. For the first time, I saw him on the verge of a real breakdown, but I felt no pity. Because I remembered that night, the light from under the attic door, the woman's laugh, his words. She can't live without me. I picked up the pen and signed my name. He looked up, a desperate look in his eyes. What if I don't sign? I'll sway. Do you have to do this? Yes. The conference room door burst open. My mother-in-law rushed in. You can't sign. She lunged for the agreement, but was blocked by Liam. She screamed at Bennett. If you sign it, you'll have nothing. We'll lose the house, we'll have to pay her back. She's trying to skin us alive. Liam said coldly, Mrs. Bennett, please watch your words. She pointed at me, screaming, Alara, you ungrateful wretch. Our family took you in for 5 years. I finally laughed out loud. You took me in? I picked up the ledger. Carol, in 5 years, what did the Bennett family ever spend on me? The down payment for our house? I paid 30%. The renovation? I paid. The old house? I fixed it. You got sick, I took care of you. Holidays, I bought the gifts. And now you say you took me in? She was defiant. You're his wife. Taking care of family is what you're supposed to do. And today, I'm resigning. Bennett roared, his voice low. Mom, stop it. She looked at him in disbelief. You're yelling at me? For her? Bennett closed his eyes. This is ugly enough. It's ugly because of her. A voice came from the doorway. No, Auntie, it's not Alara's fault. Jake was standing there, holding his phone. He had clearly just arrived. My mother-in-law was shaking with rage. "What are you doing here?" Jake glanced at me, a little embarrassed. "Ben, some people from the office are looking for you. Also, Cassidy's gone." Bennett's head shot up. "What?" Jake handed him his phone. "She maxed out your supplementary credit card, and she took the cash you kept in the box at the old house. No one can reach her now." My mother-in-law's legs gave out. "Cassidy." "She wouldn't. It's on security footage," Jake said. Bennett stared at the phone, his face turning to ash. I wasn't surprised. Cassidy was never in it for love. She wanted a position, money, a way out. Now that Bennett's reputation was shot, his project on hold, and a divorce settlement looming, of course she would run. My mother-in-law was still muttering, "She's pregnant. Two wouldn't run." Liam glanced at me. I closed the agreement. "It seems we won't be signing today." Suddenly, Bennett grabbed the pen. "I'll sign." "Bennett!" his mother shrieked. He didn't look at her. He flipped to the last page, his hand shaking so badly that the tip of the pen tore the paper. When he was done, he pushed the agreement toward me. "Alara, just don't go to the courthouse right away." I looked at the signature. "Why?" His voice was a wreck. "Give me some time." I closed the folder. "Fine." A flicker of hope lit his eyes. "I'll give you time to get your documents in order," I said. The light went out. The day the final divorce papers were ready to be signed, the weather was beautiful. The sun shone on the glass doors of the law firm, bright and sharp. When I arrived, Bennett was already there. He was wearing the same dark blue shirt he wore when we first got our marriage license. 5 years ago, he had stood in this same spot, holding a bouquet of white roses. That day, he had said, "Alara, I won't let you regret this." Now, there were no flowers in his hand, just an old ring box. When I got out of the car, he immediately walked over. "Alara." I nodded. "Let's go in." He didn't move. I found out. The baby in Cassidy's belly. It might not have been mine. I looked at him. I wasn't surprised. 3 days after Cassidy ran off, Liam had legally confirmed that she had been financially involved with 2 other men since her divorce. One was her harassing ex-husband, and the other was a local real estate investor. Bennett was just the most convenient ship to board. "So?" I asked. "I was deceived by her," he said urgently. I laughed. "Were you deceived into cheating? Deceived into lying? Deceived into hiding her in the attic and having your parents cover for you?" His face went pale. "I know I have no right to explain. But Alara, I truly regret it." He opened the ring box. Inside was my wedding ring, the one I had left in the drawer at the old house, then put in an evidence bag. I didn't know when he had gotten another one just like it. "I bought a new one. Can we start over?" I looked at the ring. The style was the same, the engraving was the same, but a fake is a fake. Like a marriage that's been broken, you can glue it back together, but the cracks will always be there. "No," I said. His hand froze in midair. "Bennett," I said, "I didn't come here today to listen to your regrets. I took my documents from my bag. I came here to finalize this." His eyes welled up. "You're not giving me any chance at all?" I looked at him calmly. I did. He froze. "I gave you a chance when I stood at the attic door and asked you," I said. "I gave you a chance in the hospital hallway when I asked you to sign. I gave you a chance in the old house when you chased after her. Every time, you chose someone else. You can't have the freedom to choose without bearing the consequences of that choice." He lowered his head, his shoulders slumping. Inside the conference room, it was quiet. The mediator went through the final checklist. "Both parties are divorcing voluntarily?" "Voluntary," I said. Bennett was a second late. The mediator looked up. His voice was hoarse. "Voluntary. Property division agreement confirmed?" "Confirmed." "No disputes over the custody of minor children?" "No." When he said that last no, a light pang of pain went through my heart. Not for Bennett, but for the child that never had a chance to be born. If that child had lived, perhaps today would have been much more complicated. But it was precisely because they didn't that I could leave cleanly. Signatures, stamps, notarizations. The whole process was as quick as a routine transaction. 5 years of marriage, sealed into a final divorce settlement. As we walked out of the building, Bennett suddenly stopped. He looked at the copy of the settlement in his hand shaking violently. "Alara, it's really over." "Yes," I said. He looked up, tears finally falling. It was the first time I had ever seen him cry. But I didn't feel a thing. Not satisfaction, not pain. Just late. Too late. My phone rang. It was his mother. I glanced at it and didn't answer. Bennett answered his. His mother's hysterical sobs came through the phone. Bennett, the creditors are at the old house? That woman Cassidy borrowed money in your name and gave them our address. Bennett's face changed. What? They say if we don't pay? They're going to break down the door, she cried. Your father can't breathe. He's so angry. The ambulance is on its way. Bennett looked at me, his eyes instinctively pleading for help. In the past, when something like this happened, his first reaction was always to turn to me, because I always handled it. Called the hospital, calmed down the relatives, fronted the money, called the police, found someone to fix the door. I was the Bennett family's all-purpose patch. Wherever there was a hole, I filled it. But now I just put my phone back in my bag. Go handle it. His lips trembled. Ilara, Bennett, I cut him off. We're divorced. The words were a wall, blocking all his instinctive reliance. His face was gray. I turned and walked toward the parking lot. He took 2 steps after me, then stopped, because his mother was still crying on the phone. He finally didn't follow me. This time, he had no right to. That afternoon, Liam informed me that the first repayment from the Bennett family had arrived. The $25,300 for the house renovation. Not a lot, but it was a start. In the days that followed, things fell like dominoes. After Bennett's project was put on hold, a competitor swooped in and took the contract. He was reassigned from his core position due to his personal conduct issues. The creditors found Cassidy. Her pregnancy turned out to be a farce. The dates didn't add up, and the father was unknown. She had tried to use Bennett as a safety net, but in the end, no one would claim her. After the creditors caused a scene at the old Bennett house, the gossip spread through the town. My mother-in-law, who feared losing face more than anything, was now the subject of whispers whenever she went out to buy groceries. That's the family whose son hid a woman in the attic. Their daughter-in-law was so good, fixed the house, took care of the old folks, and they treated her like that. It's karma. The same words she used to shame me were now all thrown back at her. I didn't go back to the old house. Not until a month later, before the court ordered mediation on the remaining payments. Bennett sent me a message. Your things are still at the old house. Come back and get them. I won't stop you. I replied, tomorrow, 10 a.m., I'm bringing people. I'll be waiting for you, he wrote. I didn't reply. The last time I returned to the Bennett house, it was an overcast day. The red paint on the front gate was peeling. A few broken pieces of porcelain lay under the pomegranate tree. My mother-in-law used to be obsessed with cleanliness. She would make me sweep up a single fallen leaf. Now, no one swept. I brought a mover and Liam with me. Bennett was waiting at the gate. He had lost a lot of weight, his shirt hanging loosely on his frame. His eyes were tired. When he saw me, he tried to smile, but couldn't. You're here. I nodded. I'll be quick. Carol didn't come out. Richard didn't come out. The door to the living room was closed, and I could hear faint coughing from inside. I didn't ask. They were no longer my concern. As I went upstairs, Bennett followed behind. The second-floor hallway was the same, but the lock on the attic door had been changed. I glanced at it. No one lives there anymore, he said. I see. His voice was low. I'm thinking of sealing it up. I didn't respond. He seemed stung by my silence and paused. Alara, I've been dreaming a lot lately. About that night, I dream of you standing at the bottom of the stairs, staring at that door. Don't talk about it, I said, going into the east room to pack my last few things. He stood in the doorway. I know you don't want to hear it, but I have to say it. I'm sorry. I put my mother's gold locket into its box. I heard you. And thank you. I looked up at him. He smiled bitterly. Thank you for taking care of my parents all these years, for taking care of this family. I used to think it was all just what you were supposed to do. Now I know that nothing is what you're supposed to do. If he had said this a year ago, I might have cried in his arms. Now it was just a late, empty sentiment. No need to thank me, I said. Just pay back what you owe according to the agreement. I will, he nodded. I'll pay it all back. Packing the room was quick. There wasn't much of mine. A few clothes, some books, a gold locket, a pair of pearl earrings, a few folders of design sketches. 5 years of marriage, and I had left so few traces. But the debt the Bennett family owed me filled a thick book. The mover carried the boxes downstairs. I did a final check of the drawers and found a photo album. It was from when Bennett and I had just gotten married. In the photos, I was leaning on his shoulder, smiling brightly. He stood beside me, his gaze gentle. I looked at it for a moment, then closed the album and put it back. "Aren't you taking it?" Bennett asked quietly. "No." "Why?" "That was the old you and the old me," I said. "Neither of us exists anymore." His eyes reddened again. Suddenly, my mother-in-law's voice came from downstairs. "Alara." I paused on the stairs. Carol was standing at the entrance to the living room, holding onto the doorframe. In just a month, she had aged a lot. Her hair had turned white in patches, the sharpness in her face replaced by exhaustion. She looked at me, her lips moving. It was Mom's fault before. I looked at her, saying nothing. Tears fell from her eyes. "Mom shouldn't have helped Bennett hide it from you. I shouldn't have said those things. Can you, for old time's sake, stop pursuing the money? Bennett's work isn't going well, and your father's health." I knew it. The apology was just the prelude. The real goal was the money. I said calmly, "No." She froze. "Mrs. Bennett," I said, "the agreement is signed. The court has confirmed it. The payments are to be made on schedule. If they are late, I will file for enforcement." The color drained from her face. "You're really that cruel?" I looked at her. "This isn't cruelty. It's boundaries." She didn't understand. She didn't want to. All she knew was that the daughter-in-law who used to come whenever she was called, who paid for everything, who would bow her head when she was scolded, was gone. My father-in-law coughed more heavily inside the house. My mother-in-law looked back, then looked at me again. This time she didn't curse. She just held onto the doorframe, slowly sank to the ground, and cried. Bennett stood behind me, his voice a hoarse wreck. "Mom, stop begging." She looked up and glared at him. "If it wasn't for you, would this family be like this?" Bennett didn't argue with her. She was finally blaming the right person. I carried the last box into the yard. The pomegranate tree had small fruits on it. I had planted it 2 years ago. My mother-in-law had complained the sapling was ugly, that we should have planted a magnolia tree instead. But I planted it anyway, because I imagined that one day, my children could play in its shade. Now, the tree was still there. But I no longer needed that future. As I reached the gate, Bennett rushed out. "Alara." I turned. He stood inside the doorway, so many words in his eyes. In the end, he only asked one thing. "Will you be okay in the future?" I looked at him. "I will." It wasn't out of spite, or to comfort him. I really would be. Away from him, away from his family, away from that house full of lies, I would only get better and better. He nodded, tears falling down his face. "That's good." I didn't respond again. I reached out and closed the gate to the old Bennett house. The click of the wooden latch was soft, but it felt like the final lock on a chapter of my life. Back in the city, I rented a street-facing studio. It wasn't big, but it had great light. There was room for a long desk by the window, and the walls could be covered with design plans. The first day I moved in, Liam brought me a plant. He leaned against the door, watching me unpack. "How does it feel?" I placed my mother's gold locket in a drawer, like I've been born again. He smiled. "Any regrets?" I thought for a moment. Regrets? Did I regret loving Bennett? Maybe not, because the me back then was sincere, and there's no shame in being sincere. The shame belongs to the one who betrays that sincerity. I shook my head. No regrets. Liam raised an eyebrow. So magnanimous. I smiled. I just finally understand. When the wrong person leaves your life, it's not a failure. It's cutting your losses. On the day my studio officially opened, Jake sent a bouquet of flowers. The card read, "To Alara, wishing you a brilliant future." I smiled and accepted it. He stood in the doorway, a little awkward. My cousin asked me to pass on a message. I looked up. "I don't want to hear it." He immediately shut his mouth. "Right, I won't say it." After a moment, he couldn't help himself. "He's really miserable right now." I looked out at the sun. "Oh." Jake rubbed his nose. "I know he deserves it." I smiled. "As long as you know." Later, I continued to receive payments from the Bennett family. I recorded each one in my ledger. The day the final payment arrived, it was late autumn. I opened my window, and the wind blew in, carrying the faint scent of osmanthus. There was a message on my phone from an unknown. "Alara, I've paid everything back. I won't bother you again. I'm sorry." I glanced at it, deleted it, and blocked the number. No reply. Some apologies are enough to be heard. They don't need to be accepted. That evening, I went to the riverfront alone. The city lights shimmered on the water. The wind was strong. I took out the old wedding ring. The my one and only engraving on the inside was already worn and faded. I didn't throw it into the river. That was too much like a movie. I just put it in a small box. The next day, I took it to a jewelry recycling shop. The owner weighed it. "You sure you don't want it?" "I'm sure," I said. He transferred the money to my account. It wasn't much. I used it to buy a new lamp for my desk at the studio. When the light came on, I was drawing a new set of plans. A small house, facing the sun. No attic, no hidden doors, no sounds I had to decipher. Just a very large window, and outside, freedom.